Serving today's community. Preparing for tomorrow's opportunities. Here's what's in the works.
Thanks for coming out here to Kent on this very rainy day, which does remind us of the realities of flooding throughout the region. And the King County Flood District was created in 2007 by an act of the Washington State Legislature. It's a special purpose district funded with about $50 million annually to help protect businesses, lives, property, and some of that very important property right here in Kent. As many of you know, this industrial center, this city, this employment center, is the second largest industrial and employment center on the west coast of the United States. And this river right behind us, the Green River, makes up the entire floodplain that exists throughout this valley. And historically, these levees were put up to protect agriculture, but now they're protecting very important economic and property interests. And so we are working very hard to protect them. And this Briscoe Desimone levee is about an $18 million project, $7 million of which is provided by the state. And the city of Kent is going to be the one who is the contractor for this. We're proud of what the district has done. In our first 5 years of operation, we've had 5 clean audits by the Washington State Auditor. There is no district anywhere in the country that has a better overhead to project ratio than the King County Flood District. Fully 94% of the dollars we collect go into actual projects like this today. So we're proud of the work we've done, and we wouldn't have it without the support of the people who will be speaking today. So let me introduce your mayor, Mayor Suzette Cook, who has been a stalwart supporter of the Flood District, chair of the advisory committee, and your mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Reagan. Oh my gosh. This has been a long time coming, but what a momentous event this is. First of all, I think it's very, very clear that the multiple partners that are making this possible come from government at all levels, including across city borders where we are cooperating. It comes from the residents, the businesses, as well as we look at particularly the rules and regulations that we have to set some new guidance for, because this is a unique kind of project for this area. So I'm very thrilled to be an active partner with the state and the Flood Control District, which will improve flood protection in this Green River Valley for decades to come. Before we go on about what this is leading to, I think it's always important to also look at our history. And many of you, well actually there's getting to be fewer and fewer of you as I look at the ages of the people here, but many of you may remember when the Green River Valley was the agricultural center. In fact, the city of Kent got its name from Kent, England, a county known for growing hops. And Kent was the hop center of the world until a disease destroyed those crops. And then we moved on to other crops. But farming was huge in this area. And I think it's important to recognize some folks that are here today with historical significance. I would like the Booker family to stand up and be recognized because they tended the farm. And was it your grandfather or your father that had the, it was actually an orphanage for 100 boys here?
It was our father that ran the farm for the school.
Yeah, so their father ran the farm for an orphanage that had 100 boys here. So think of the roots in this area of Briscoe Desimone. Thank you so much for being here today. Also here today, some key individuals who have played a part in the success of the fruition of this. We're going to hear from a few of them, including Senator Karen Kaiser, Senator Joe Fain, ex-state representative, now King County Council member and Flood Control District Supervisor, Dave Upthegrove. State Representative Tina Orwell. We have our City Council President, Dana Ralph. We have our new City Council member, Brenda Fincher. All of these people have worked together to bring us to today's event. So when we look at this Briscoe Desimone levee, it is only one of several levees along the Green River. But it is so unique in the sense of its protection area with the business and industry that is here, so much manufacturing, and the way that should it ever breach or overtop, it would impact Tukwila and Renton. So waters go downhill, and those are the cities that would be in the way of the waters. I think it's important, too, to think about what the value is that we're protecting. And that is that this Green River Valley is the state's economic engine that actually generates 1/8 of the gross domestic product for the whole state of Washington. That's $20 billion. Billion with a B. So besides the tens of thousands of jobs that come with that, this valley is a major transportation corridor. You look at the railroads, you look at the freeways and highways, the utilities that go through the valley, and we connect Seattle and Tacoma and their respective ports. Another interesting thing is it's not just local trade we're talking about, but particularly when you think about the strength of the ports, this area that we're protecting, actually the businesses here trade with over 170 countries. So we are doing critical work for the whole United States by protecting this one area of the Briscoe Desimone levee. So what I also think is important is when we recognize some of these companies that we are protecting, we have, for example, in Kent, one of the world's 6 roasting plants for Starbucks. We have the REI headquarters, and of course the Boeing Aerospace Center. The interesting thing on this project is the engineering aspect of it, and we've had so many engineers involved from the private sector as well as the public sector, looking at the type of construction that's going to be done here at Briscoe Desimone. It's actually a wall of steel that's going to go down into the levee, and that will allow the riverside of the levee to be planted in order to help keep the river cooler and for the fisheries, and allow, therefore, a greater resurgence of the fisheries and ecosystem within this area. In fact, it will provide shading for 3 species that are endangered. In particular, that's the Chinook, steelhead, and bull trout. And finally, when this project is complete, it will host a wider trail for cyclists, runners, and walkers to enjoy. So the human element, we're talking safety, we're talking jobs, so protecting lives and livability in this area. I simply want to say thank you to all of our partners. And now, one of the individuals who's been critical to our success in getting to this point is now King County Council member and Board of Supervisors from the Flood Control District, Dave Upthegrove. Dave?
Thank you. It's getting chilly in here. A couple weeks ago, I went and saw the movie Noah. I don't know if anyone has seen that. It is not a good movie. I don't recommend it. But the story of Noah in the Bible is an everlasting one. And it's a story about an unassuming person who's called by a higher power to do a big construction project to prepare for a flood. And I couldn't help but think of our good mayor, who was called by a higher power, some might say higher than the good Lord himself, the federal government, to do a construction project to prepare for flooding. And I don't believe that this rain is the start of a biblical flood. But I do believe that you are indeed doing the Lord's work, in the sense that, as the mayor just mentioned, this is 1/8 of the state's GDP. It's valuable agricultural land. We have vital transportation infrastructure. We have endangered fish species. The work is so important. It's also vital to our economy and jobs, because if we don't get the levees in tip-top shape and certified in the way the feds want them, then it's possible that the businesses and homeowners behind them may face costly flood insurance and may face development restrictions. That means it's more difficult for businesses to expand and grow, and less likely businesses will locate here. And by getting the levees certified as soon as possible, as cost effectively as possible, we're going to make sure that Kent and the whole Industrial Valley stays open for business, so that we have good paying jobs with benefits here in the Kent Valley. And thank you, Mayor, for your leadership on all of that. I want to end with a story. This is about partnerships. The tribes involved, multiple federal agencies, state government, local government, the flood district. And I learned a little bit about working together from my dad. About 7 years ago, he lost his vision unexpectedly. This last July, we got up really early one morning, and I drove him up to Seward Park, and we leapt into the frozen water of Lake Washington, and we swam a half a mile. Then we got out and hopped on a tandem bike, and we pedaled for over 12 miles, and then we ran a 5K. And my father, at age 75 and blind, successfully completed the 2013 Seafair Triathlon. And as we came across the finish line that morning, I realized he was demonstrating a powerful truth. And it is this: working together, we can overcome any obstacle. So congratulations for doing just that. Thank you. I now have the pleasure of introducing one of the two state senators from our area who were so instrumental in securing, I think, $7 million in state funding for this project. From the 47th District, Senator Joe Fain.
Well, I want to first thank everyone who made the wise choice to move the venue down from what I'm sure would be about 15 degrees colder up there. I think many of us are getting kind of cold here, and so we'll keep our remarks brief. I know for a fact, even with my eyesight as good as it is, that despite any kind of partnership, I would not have been able to complete the triathlon as your father did. This is such a vital program, and it's such a vital project that we're putting together today, and it represents the culmination of a kind of partnership that is really difficult to forge between state and local and county governments to make decisions about what is this going to look like, how are we going to pay for it, who are we going to tax, how are we going to permit it. And I think those of us here that have been in the room, that have been involved in fighting for this for as long as we have, know how difficult it is and really how tremendous an accomplishment it is. And I particularly want to thank Senator Kaiser, who really we joined together in a bipartisan effort to gain the state support to help make this possible, and it would not have been possible without us working together, which I think is a good lesson for anyone that tries to accomplish something, particularly in this day of age when finding those things that we can kind of come together on sometimes becomes more and more difficult. And I also want to thank the King County Council and Councilmember Dunn. The formation of the Flood Control Zone District, or whatever the ridiculous name that it had when it first was birthed into existence, showed a lot of foresight on the part of King County government to say we not only need to prioritize levee construction and abate these issues of flooding that are really plaguing all over this county, but nowhere more significantly than right here in Kent, in Auburn Valley. But we need to make sure that we have the funding to be able to go after this. And it's a big decision when elected officials make a decision to reach out and tax the public. And I think that the support that was seen in that first vote to create that district and to levy that tax showed that this is something that everyone was able to come together and decide was in the best interests of our community. Because at the end of the day, these are, as folks have said, these are people's livelihoods. These are their businesses, their jobs, and their way of life that are in jeopardy when it decides to rain. Unfortunately, this doesn't look like it's a biblical nature of today's weather, but so that none of us get pneumonia because it's so cold, I will be proud to pass this off to my friend and colleague, Senator Karen Kaiser.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe, and thank you all for coming. You know, speaking of rain, when we had the record rains just this last March, it was really something to take for us who've been working on this problem for about 5 years now, take a little bit of a deep breath, because for the last 5 years, every time we had record rains, we were worried about the Howard Hanson Dam. We were worried about our levees, and we were worried about flooding. This last March, I wasn't so worried. And that was a wonderful, wonderful corner to turn around. And I'm really pleased with the leadership of the City of Kent, with the King County Flood Control District leadership, and with the state leadership. As partners, we have put this piece of this puzzle together. And I'm just going to say very briefly, now that I'm my caucus lead for the capital budget, it's very important that we spend the money. Because as Joe and I know, defending already appropriated money is a very difficult task because somebody else wants it always. That $7 million, it's yours. Use it now. And thank you all.
Thank you, Senator Kaiser. And thanks to all our speakers today. I just wanted to wrap up. In addition to what we're doing here today, there's a list of more than 80 flood risk reduction projects that have already been identified. And one of the things the King County Flood District is doing is announcing the availability of nearly $3 million in grant funding for flood reduction projects. And this is available to a very wide group of folks, homeowners associations, nonprofits, schools, special districts, tribes, and other King County jurisdictions. We want to use that money for special projects that emphasize the policy direction that we have set. And so we're really encouraging grant applications. The deadline is June 15th. You can visit our website for more information. Since the district was formed in 2007, we've completed 16 significant flood risk reduction projects right here in the Green Duwamish watershed. And this work will continue with the Briscoe Desimone project, the $16 million Lower Russell Road project, and the recently approved agreement with the City of Kent to move forward on the Russell Road Upper Levee project. So, as Mayor Cook indicated, $20 billion in economic activity here, also protecting $2.8 billion in actual structures down here as well in the Kent Valley. So thanks for everyone being here today. Thanks for your interest in flood protection.